You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today, we're already back this week with our Friday review. This has been one of the most popular requested items for me to review, so I am looking forward to bringing you today's show. I'm going to bring it to you with a little bit of a twist, though, and that's that I am going to give the answer to what people have been asking for about the best air filters that they can use for their home or their office. But I also want to give you a little bit of a twist, and that twist is going to be how you can bring in other natural-based items, such as certain plants that can help to detoxify and cleanse the air as well. So as a naturopath, as someone who's always looking towards, well, what did people do when they wanted to clean the air before? Or how can we just look to nature? Because nature really does have everything we need to provide for us. Sometimes we just need it in a concentrated dose because we've become so sick as a population. I'm not saying that as well, but when in doubt, what I like to say is, can we do this naturally? So I do both. I mean, just to let you know, I have an air filter in my home. I live in the city, so I live in Boston, and I live right in the city, meaning like all of that smog and all of those pollutants and all of those things. And Boston's one of the cleaner cities, but still, it's not clean. We'll put it that way. And so what I do is we try to keep plants in our home because we love bringing the outside nature into the inside, but we also use a air filter, and we predominantly use that in one of the living space in the bedroom as well. Let me go over that now because, really there are just very, very simple how you can buy some inexpensive plants that you can literally keep in your home. And those plants will help to cleanse and detoxify the air as well. So let's go over that right now. Okay, so one thing I should let you know as well is why would you want to clean the air in the first place? You're probably asking that. Now, so we'll take one step back and we'll let you know that in the air, there are all sorts of things floating around that you can't see. You literally cannot see them. There could be mold spores. There could be dust. There's certainly dust. There can be smoke. There can be gaseous substances. There could be pesticides blowing in from a neighbor's lawn. All of these different things can be in the air. Dander. If you have a pet, there's certainly those types of danders and other things in the air as well. There can be germs. And again, I already mentioned mold, which was one of the big ones as well. So what we're looking to do is use everything at our disposal that we can do to clean the air. So, all right, we took that step back. Now we'll move forward. We'll talk about those specific plants. The specific plants that are great are aloe vera. That's a big one. Not only can aloe vera help to clean the air, but you can also cut off one of the actual leaves and use that for burns or any type of skin irritation. Works great for some people with psoriasis and eczema as well. Spider plants, that's a nice one. Those can be hung in the house as well as just kind of placed around on countertops as well. Mother-in-law's tongue. I love hearing this one as well. It's called a snake plant, but actually the nickname is the mother-in-law's tongue. That's a nice one to keep. We have that one in our house as well. Spider plants as well. Aloe vera we have. And then some of the lesser known ones would be maybe like a Boston fern, bromeliads. Again, probably pronouncing that wrong since I'm not a good gardener or any of these specific things. Bamboo palms, another big one. Yucca, that's a popular one as well. Succulents of all kinds. We have lots of succulents at our house as well. And then herbs, just herbs that you may be growing for your own food, your own use. So that's a really nice way. Some other things that we use not only in our Boston practice, of course my home, but also Boston practice, are things like beeswax candles. If you've never heard about those, I'll try to link those up in the show notes today as well. So certainly just go to stephencabral.com/384, 385 today. So episode 385, and you'll be able to see links to the beeswax candles that I'm talking about. I don't know if I'll be able to link to the plants, but I'll certainly do my best. I'll at least list those. And then also salt lamps. Salt lamps are something that our clients in Boston love that we put in all of our massage rooms. So basically the rooms are only lit with these beautiful salt lamps. And what the salt lamps do is they cleanse the air in a very similar way to beeswax candles, because what's happening happening is these salt lamps as well as the beeswax candles are creating these negative ions. Now, you've probably heard me mention negative ions before when I was talking about grounding or earthing, sometimes they call it, where our bodies get to absorb negative ions that help disperse clumped together red blood cells. They energize our bodies, energize our cells, and they're amazingly effective for helping to detoxify the body as well. So it cleanses the air, grabs onto these pollutants, brings them down. So, really, really nice. And we use, I believe it's like the 8-inch salt lamp, but there's a bunch of different ones. Again, I'll link up to exactly what we use at our wellness center. So those are all great plants. The salt lamps are beautiful. If you have kids, put them in their rooms, but turn them on at night and maybe, a couple hours before them going to bed. And that kind of just like sets that dimmer light. It will allow them to try to like ease into the bedtime, kind of calm their bodies down. But you can light it and, put it on anytime. And really, it's going to help cleanse the air. We love those, use them all the time in my home and in my practice. Now, what people were really asking for, let's get to that right now, is they wanted to know about filters. Should they be using ionizer, a HEPA filter, all of these specific things? So I want to bring you that because this is something that I've done quite a bit of research on. And the reason is that I suffered for many, many years from debilitating allergies. I mean, horrible, horrible allergies. So if you have allergies yourself, you have asthma, you have multiple chemical sensitivities, you have fatigue, you have fibromyalgia, any of these specific things, you are going to want to make sure that you have a good air filter in your house. If you live in a city, if you live in a densely populated area, if you live near gardens, yes, or if you live near farms where they do a lot of heavy spraying, if you live near a golf course where they're spraying pesticides, any of these things, you're going to want an air filter for your house. I can't think of too many people who wouldn't want an air filter. It's simply a cost, right? Everything in life is a cost. So you're just weighing the pluses and minuses of what you should spend your money on. And so what I like to say is health is something fun that you can get into. It really is. Because when you start to live a healthier lifestyle, you're a little bit happier. And I'll tell you why. You start to get into being a healthier person. You start to get into the philosophy of eating better, of healing. You start to find and gravitate towards other people who are into these same types of things. And for whatever reason, they seem to be a little bit more positive people. They focus on what they can do rather than what they can't. They, instead of becoming a victim, they decide to be a person who can really step up, learn what they can do to improve their life, and then, of course, teach others, which really is what this show is all about. So what I want to do is I want to bring you the filters, and I want to bring them from all different price ranges. It's hard to find a good filter for under $200, but I found one, and so I'm going to give you that. And again, what I was saying before is this. If you can't afford the filter this month, that's okay. That it really is. You're going to maybe bring in some of those inexpensive plants. You could go down to your local Home Depot or Lowe's or one of those places if you're in the U.S. And I'm sure there's these places, of course, all over the world. And you can buy those plants. You could buy a salt lamp. I don't know off the top of my head how much they are, but they might be $20. So you could buy a salt lamp to start with, and then you can save $50 a month. And then 4 months from now, you could buy the lower end model, which, by the way, this lower end model that I did my research and I found for you is just 2% not as good. I don't know if that's the proper way to say that, but 2% less beneficial than other ones that are $200 to $300 more. So I actually bought one, and I'll tell you that name, I would say this is my latest one, probably about 5 years ago now. It still runs great. And it was a refurbished one, and it cost over $500 because some of them are much more expensive. And I went in and I said, I want the top of the line one. I want this, and this. And I'm telling you, they've come way down in price now. So let's go over what you're really looking for, what you need. And so you can kind of filter out maybe the best ones that work for you as well. So what most of us have heard before is that we need some type of HEPA filter. It's HEPA. And so what we're looking for here with this HEPA filter is something that's going to take a lot of the pollutants that are in the air and actually trap them in this filter. So a filter would be like, maybe like you would think about for a dryer, something like that. Or you would think about for your car filter in your car where it's catching all the pollutants and not coming into so that you don't breathe it all in. Now, of course, some of it does get through. But the better the HEPA filter, the better chance it is. And most of the top rated ones catch 99.97% of a particulate it's called, and it's a certain size. So meaning that besides these tiny, tiny little particles, mainly gaseous, mainly basically just gas-based, it's going to trap all of those. It's going to get the mold. It's going to get all those dust, everything in the air. And it's amazing. I mean, the first time we started running these, you'll have to change your filter earlier or a lot more often in the beginning, and then less so after you've been using it for a while, because you're just going to pick up all of the stuff in your house that has never really been filtered before. And it's pretty crazy too. And I have a French bulldog who, he's just a little guy. He weighs like 28 pounds, but he sheds everywhere. And for a tiny dog, he is just always shedding. So we're always picking up the little short hairs. And also just along with that just comes dander and all the other things that they track in. So although we love having him, he's certainly a dirty little guy that tracks stuff into the house, and we have to keep cleaning up after him. And these filters work for that as well. So other things you're going to want to look for is this. A lot of the best filters or a lot of the best air filter machines have a fan. So they circulate the air, and by circulating the air, they can move air out and then pull air in. That allows them to better clean the air. Keep in mind that each model you find will be designated for like a 200 square foot room, a 350 square foot room, a 500, or sometimes even over 1,000. So the reason why mine cost a fair amount of money is I bought one that did a much larger room, and so you'll look into that as well. If you have to pick and choose, pick one just for your bedroom, because you're going to be in your bedroom for at least 7 to 8 hours per night. Hopefully you're getting that much sleep. So choose it for your bedroom. And most bedrooms are like 100, 150 square feet. So most people have a smaller bedroom, somewhere around like 10 by 15 feet. And so just again, if you get a 200 square foot one, it's going to be able to clean your bedroom. And again, that's going to be a lot of dust in your bedroom just from sloughed off skin, all of those particular things that we don't even like to think about. Okay, you want one that tells you when to change your air filter. I find that's pretty important. Sure, you could like mark on it that you want to change it every 3 months or whatever it might be, but I like to know when it's filling up, because like I said in the beginning, that air filter is going to get filled up with everything a lot faster as well. Some people like timers on there, so they're going to set it for 12 hours a day, or they're just going to keep it running. Personally, I just keep it running, and you can actually change the speeds. So in the beginning, I will keep the speed up high, which is going to move that fan around. And then in the longer term, I keep it at a lower speed throughout the night, especially during the night. And the reason is that I don't want that loud buzzing noise as well. So that's certainly going to help. A lot of them come with something called an ionizer. Ionizer actually acts like static electricity. And this is really nice to attract particles right to the plate. So this is something that I like on mine. So I like actually a UV ray, and I like an ionizer. Really, really important. What I don't want is ozone. Again, this is now many years ago. Literally, I can remember the date right now when I purchased this, and this was back in 2000. So again, even back then, I was really into health, because I was trying to get myself healthy in any way possible. So ozone machines were big back then, because what they would do is they would actually they would destroy particles in the environment. They would grab onto them, pull them down, all that fun stuff that I'm not going to get into the chemistry of how that works. But it's found that if you use them for an extended period of time, it can be a lung irritant and can actually cause deterioration of the lung tissue. Not good. And I believe they're banned now in California. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure there are actually warnings if you're in a building that contains some type of ozone. So if you're going to use ozone, it actually works extremely well. You don't want to be in the house while it's going. I've used ozone after living in an apartment where someone smoked heavily, and it was in the walls. It was just in the paint. You just smell it everywhere. And what I did was I let that ozone machine run. It was an air filter with ozone, and I let it run for 2 days. When I came back, I kid you not, there was no smell of smoke left in that room. It was remarkable. So then I just opened the windows, turned off the ozone machine, and that's it. I believe I actually probably still have that somewhere locked away in storage 17 years later. Some people like a remote control for theirs, so moving right along. The remote control would just be, turning it down at night or anything like that across the room, because again, you can kind of put it in inconspicuous areas so that you don't always see them. And a lot of other people like reusable air filters. My problem with reusable air filters is that they really are hard to clean, because the dust, especially the dust, just cakes so thick into that air filter that it's pretty tough to clean them. So what I would say is you're just going to want to replace those every 3 months, 6 months, whatever your requirements are. Okay, so now I've kind of gotten into all of the things that you're looking for, and I talked a little bit about what they're actually filtering. So what you'll want to know just in general then are price ranges that can, filter out specifically dust mites, molds, bacteria, viruses. That should be standard across the board. Tobacco smoke, pollen, again, if you live and you have allergies, so crucial for this. And the other part is that only the ones with more of like a carbon-based filter, something deeper built into this machine, are going to get rid of things like VOCs from paint, from just toxic fumes. Let's say a neighbor, like I live in a condo building. One of our neighbors was actually painting their apartment, and we could just smell the toxic fumes coming in. They, of course, moved out for the day or two or a week, but we were exposed to those same fumes, and we had to leave because I have 2 young girls, and at the time, one of my daughters was only 6 months old, and the other one was just over 2, and that literally is toxic to children. Now, they're still not outlawed. They should be, but again, my neighbors, it wasn't their fault. They didn't know about it, and no one knows about the harms that these things cause, but again, you'll read about these things in my upcoming book, and you'll see how they are devastating to children. They're devastating to reproductive disorders, to ADD, ADHD, certain types of cancer, and that's because they overwhelm our nervous system and our livers. So, I mean, these are real serious things. Cleaning products, pesticides, I named that before, but a really good quality filter with not only the HEPA, the ionizer, but also something called the UV ray and a carbon block will knock a lot of these right out of the air. Phenomenal, phenomenal. So let's go into my top picks. So I just want to give you the one that I used and have used for many years. It's a great company. It's called Allen, A-L-E-N. I will link that up in today's show notes. So again, just go to stevencabral.com/385, and I'm going to put all my links right in there. You can choose the one that's best for you. That one's a little bit more expensive. They are. Again, the larger the air cleaning capacity, meaning the room size, the more expensive it's going to be because it's a bigger unit. But I'm going to start right now with air filters right around the $200 range, and I'm going to make it simple. So here's the thing. I'm going to give you a couple different brands that are really great. Coway. Coway is C-O-W-A-Y. Now, they have one that has been a lot of people's top picks. Again, like am I the expert on air filters? I'm not. I'm a messenger who's read the research. I know what I'm looking for. I rely on literally, I think they're called like particle physicists. Believe it or not, there's a name for it. And what they do is they test the air quality before. They run these air filters, and then they test them 20 minutes later, an hour later, a couple days later. And believe it or not, this one by Coway, it's called the Mighty. It's only around $200 or so, which I know is expensive. I'm not downplaying that. But in terms of a really good air filter, this outperformed even some of the units that cost 3 times as much, like $600. So this is a pretty impressive one. After just 20 minutes, it removed 88% of most of the airborne particle pollution. That's remarkable. I mean, that honestly, 88% in just 20 minutes. Really remarkable. It has the HEPA filter. It has the carbon. It has all of those things that I do look for. And so right now, it's a lot of people's top pick. And of course, it's going to be my top pick as well. It meets all the criteria that I have. My only downside on this one specifically is that you might like it because it looks very modern and high tech. I'm not into how it looks. It looks almost like in like an Apple remote or whatever it might be, and it just sits in your room. But again, you can keep it in an inconspicuous place. Don't let that be the reason. Certainly don't let my subjective opinion be the reason. But that is an amazing one for just about $200. Really, really amazing. Another great one by Coway is the Air Mega 300. Now, the Air Mega 300 is going to use for spaces about 1,000 square feet, where the first one is for, I believe it's about 300 square feet. And again, I'll link to that as well, but I believe it's 300 square feet. So that's a great one. Another good brand. So if you need a larger space cleaned, and let's say you do live near a golf course or you live near a heavily sprayed
Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced
really
in only 2 ways?
You might want to go with that Coway
Over time,
Air Mega
you become
because
deficient in vital nutrients,
now it's double the price,
and you also
but it
accumulate
is
toxins
stronger. Another
internally
stronger
from the
one. So the
environment.
stronger ones would
As
be
those
like
nutrients
the Allen
diminish
that I mentioned,
and you increase
the
your
other
total
Coway
toxic
Air
load,
Mega,
your
and
body then
also
begins to show the
Austin
first
makes a
signs
really
of
nice one as well.
dis-ease.
Austin's
It's actually
very
quite
popular.
predictable,
A lot
and
of
the
health
good news
professionals
is that
like
if
to
we know
recommend that
how
as well.
you began
They're
to
a
fill up
great
that
company to
proverbial
work
rain
with.
barrel,
They really take
we
care
also know
of
how to
their
empty it
customers.
to begin the
And so
healing
one of the
process.
ones that is great
I
by
was
Austin is
fortunate
called the
enough to
Health
learn
Mate.
this ancient
It's
healing
the
process
HM400.
from my mentor
It removes
after
a lot of
suffering
those
from
gaseous
debilitating
things, like things that you
diseases
can't see like the
for close to a
VOCs from
decade.
paint fumes.
It was
from
only when I
cleaners.
began to
really
implement
like
these
this one. It's
techniques
just basically
did I
a
finally
square unit.
overcome my
It's about
illnesses
$500,
and
same
go
as
on
the
to live a
Co-Weight
life
Air
of
Mag. They're pretty
energy and
comparable.
vitality
Really
that I
like
now
that one
enjoy.
as well.
I'd like to share with you now
Huge fan.
what I
Both
discovered
of these
after
are
traveling all over the
slightly
world and how to
than the
combine
Mighty that I
the
talked about
best
the
of
first one.
ancient healing
And
wisdom
so why don't we
with
keep it at that? We'll
state-of-the-art
keep it at that. We have about a
science.
$200
Allow me to
unit.
teach you exactly
And
how I've
we
been
have
able
the
to
other
help
units
over
for
$250,000
about
people
$500,
to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped
you do
they
have
could
to
be.
purchase
To get your copy of the
air
international
filters, which will
bestseller,
run
The
you
Rain Barrel
maybe
Effect,
$20
simply
to
go
$50,
to
probably twice a year, every 6 months. That's what I have to change mine about every 6 months.
So
So again, there's a little bit of an investment, but I'm telling you, all of these things are worth it. And after the initial investment, the actual monetary upkeep is a couple dollars per month, essentially. So that's how you can look at it. Hopefully this answered your questions. Again, I'm just going to link it all up in the show notes. There's a big episode, a lot of information, but a lot of times I like to give you that information. I'm all about education, but the bottom line is I'm going to link up the ones that I recommend, the same ones that I would use personally myself, because I'm not going to give you anything that I wouldn't use myself or not have already used. And I know that when I purchase my next air filter, it's probably going to be one of the ones that I just mentioned. The only thing that would change is if I came across new research. But again, if that ever happens, I'm going to update StephenCabral.com/385. Right now, these are the absolute top and best recommendations. Take care, everyone, and feel free to pass this episode along to anyone it may help. Bye.
Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to StephenCabral.com/courses.